You hear what old Pietro Rousey was saying to Father Duffy on Sunday? Frankie asked, looking up from the newspaper. Giovanni, the barber, called Barber G by his patrons and friends, looked at him in the mirror, shook his head, and turned the chair to trim Frankie's left side. He continued to cut his hair in the same rhythm, cutting twice and snapping the scissors closed twice to remove any stuck hair from the blades. Said he had to dump a whole wagon load of tomatoes, meaning tomatoes, in the ditch. Said he came to town to sell 'em, but no one had money to buy 'em. So he dumped the load in the ditch. Can you believe that? I heard he had to do the same thing with milk a couple weeks back, added Louis, Frankie's right hand. Right in the ditch. Vroom! Louis punctuated this last word with a sharp, downward motion of his hands. Business is bad all around, you know, even for us. The barber looked questioningly at the tough guy over the head of his patron, then continued cutting Frankie's hair. There's a depression on, remember? Frankie replied. Louis dismissed the remark. That don't mean nothing. People gonna drink, depression or no. Again the barber looked at Louis, this time much sharper, the level of contempt evident on his face. Numbers, women, shine, all right here. Frankie caught the look in the mirror. Don't talk about that here, Louis. Louis turned and looked at his boss, then at the barber. What? You one of them Mormons or something, Barber G? A prohibitionist, maybe? You don't like drinking? The barber lowered his eyes and returned to his work. I don't like that kind of talk in my place. Louis squared off to the barber. You gonna go to the cops then? Is that it? He ain't in the know, Frankie added, backing Louis off with just his voice. We don't talk about it in here. Remember that. He pointed a finger at his man, adding the or else with his eyes. There was a tense silence in the air for a few minutes, the only sound being the rhythm of the barber's scissors. Frankie returned to the paper as Louis went to the radio and switched it on. A's leading 3-2 in the bottom of the fifth. Nielsen up to bat, left-hander against a right-handed pitcher. Wind-up, pitch, tipped off, and fouled out by Nielsen. Ball returned to Carter. He eyes the runner at second and waits for the signal for Lewis. Another look to second. Louis switched the radio off. It says here, Frankie said, that them Bigelows bought the Reed Hotel. Gonna change the name to Bigelow. He shook his head. The barber stopped cutting and waited for Frankie to stop moving. More tense silence, punctuated by the occasional clearing of Louis's throat. Louis, Frankie commanded, go over to the station. Wait for me there. We got to send that stuff on the 4:55. Without a word, Louis left the barber shop with a jingle of the bell hanging over the door. Sorry about Louis, Barber G. He forgets. He forgets every time, Mr. Santini. I mean no disrespect. Frankie cut him off by raising his well-manicured left hand. I understand. I mean you no disrespect.